What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today is Fan Friday, and today's winner was the Mew Hypno Snorlax deck. Now, if you don't know what Fan Friday is, on my Facebook page, which the link is down below, make sure you like it. We're so close to 1,000 likes on the Facebook page, which is crazy. But on the Facebook page, I make a thing saying, hey, vote for your favorite, submit your favorite deck, and the deck with the most likes wins. And this week was the Mew Hypno Snorlax deck. I want to give a shout out to Brett. He's the one who suggested the deck, and he actually helped me a little bit while building the deck. I've never seen this deck before, so I wasn't really sure how it worked and what it did. But he kind of explained some things to me, and this is the list I ended up making. So let's go over and let's see what's it about. So our main attacker is going to be this Mew card. It has the ability Memories of Dawn. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any of your basic Pokemon to play, but you still need the necessary energy to use each attack. And it does have an okay attack and counter. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. This can actually help you get out a Hypno, Like if turn 1 you get down a Drowzee, you use Mew, you use Encounter to get out a Hypno, you can guarantee yourself a turn 2 Hypno, which is really nice. Alright, so you have Mew, which like I said is your main attacker, and the main attack that you're going to copy is this Toss and Turn. Snorlax has the attack Toss and Turn, which is a pretty unique attack. Does 30 damage, which is pretty weak, but this attack can be even used if this Pokemon is asleep. So if Snorlax is snoozing or if Mew is snoozing, they can use this attack still. If it is, this attack does 90 more damage, which is 120. So 120 damage is not a lot, but the main focus of this deck is to knock out Shaymins. Like I said in other videos, every deck plays Shaymins. Like I said, every deck plays Shaymins. So the point of the deck is to knock out 3 Shaymins and take the game that way. You can knock out other basic Pokemon that have low HP as well. Maybe trade, maybe get the first knockout, you can win the game. There's a lot of different things you can do with this deck. So remember, Snorlax, your active Pokemon has to be asleep. So we're going to use Hypno. We've already talked about it a little bit, but Hypno has the ability Good Night Babies. Once during your turn before you attack, you may leave both active Pokemon asleep. So this way you can put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep in the active spot, as well putting our Pokemon to sleep in the active spot. Now if you're playing against an EX deck, you can't Lysandre or Shaymin. You can put their EX to sleep, and if they flip Tails and they don't have a switch card, you just two-shot them, which is really nice, and you can work out that way. If you go first, if you go first, you might be able to get the first hit, take the knockout turn 2 while they take in 1 price knockout, which is pretty interesting. And like I said, eventually they will drop a Shaymin, and you can't easily knock that out. And of course, we do play our own 2 Shaymins to help set up. So that's our Pokemon here. Once again, we're using Mew, using Memories of Dawn to copy the Snorlax attack. Toss a turn to do 120 damage, and we're going to be put to sleep by this Hypno. So there we go. We played this Drowzee because it has the Focus Wish, which needs a DCE, which could be used, and you can Sky Return with Shaymin as well. The only downside with this deck is Mew does only have 50 HP, which is pretty low. So we play 1 Battle Compressor, discard 3 cards from your deck, 1 Escape Rope, both players switch their active Pokemon. Your opponent switches first, which is pretty nice. This way you can get Snorlax out of the active spot. Snorlax does have 4 retreat calls, which is pretty high. 2 Level Ball, this can get you out your Drowzee, your Hypnos, and your Mews. 4 Puzzle of Time. You're going to notice that we only play 4 DC in this deck, so to get back our DCs, we're going to use Puzzle of Time. If you play 2 of them, you can get any 2 cards out of your discard pile, which is really nice. Maybe get a Colorless or a Lysandre, via Seeker, I don't know. There's a lot of different options you can use with Puzzle of Time, which is really nice. 1 Super Rod, the most time when I'm using Super Rod is to get back Hypnos. I might want to play a Sacred Dash. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but we're not shuffling any energies back into our deck. So you could cut Super Rod for a Sacred Dash. Either one's fine. 5 might be too many, like you don't want to put like Snorlaxes in there or something if you don't want to late game. 2 Target Whistle to get a basic Pokemon out of your opponent's discard pile and put it onto their bench. This is how we're going to knock out Shaymins over and over again, which is really nice. 4 Trainers Mail, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VS Seeker. Obviously, we know this is almost in every deck. 1 AZ to put 1 Pokemon back into your hand. Once again, if your opponent licenses up a Snorlax to stall, you can't AZ it up, which is nice. Maybe AZ up your Shaymin so your opponent can't Lysandre up, which is another thing. 2 Lysandre, 2 in, 4 Sycamore, and 1 Xerosic. Xerosic is always just really nice if you need to discard a tool or special energy attached to any Pokemon to play. You could maybe knock out a Fighting Fear Belt, which is nice, like if your opponent Fighting Fear Belt's a Shaymin or something, you could like maybe knock it off or something, which is really nice. for Dimension Valley, because with Mew's attack or Mew's ability, you copy Snorlax's attack, which needs 3 energy, but once you have a Dimension Valley out in play, it only needs 2 energy, which is really nice, and the combo's really cool as well. But it is a lot. Like, you need Dimension Valley, you need Hypno, you need Snorlax, you need a Mew, you need a DCE. There's a lot going on in this deck. And like I said earlier, Mew does have low HP. That is, you know, it only has 50. So we're playing 3 Fighting Free Belt. You could maybe cut this, but I think you need a Fighting Free Belt just in case. You need to, like, save some numbers. Like, right now, if you play, like, if you don't play Fighting Free Belt, Yveltal can, like, 2-shot you. I mean, if they have a Muscle Band, they 2-shot you regardless, but they don't have a Muscle Band. For one turn, they can't 2-shot you because, like, Mew has 90 HP and 50 plus 30 is 80, so they'll be 10 short if they miss a muscle band or something like that. Fighting Free Belt is just nice, and you do 10 more damage. 130 does help you knock out Yveltals and other Pokemon as well, which is good. 2 Float Stone, attach maybe on Hypno, maybe on Snorlax. For the most part, you want to hold on to these until you have to put them down. And for DCE, this is our only energy, which might be kind of shaky because we might need more energy. We do kind of just unfortunately lose to Aegislash. We just gotta hope our opponent puts down another Pokemon, and we take a knockout. This deck also struggles against, like, Hex Maniac. If your opponent can keep Hex Maniac in you, obviously you can't use Goodnight Babies, you can't use Memories of Dawn. It's just really bad. Greninja is another bad matchup because they have Shadow Stitching. They keep just shutting down your abilities. You can't ever attack, and you're just sitting there like, I don't like this deck. I can't use any of my abilities. So anything that shuts down your abilities, you're going to be in trouble. Garbodor's not so bad because you do have the Xerosic to get rid of the tool. You can, like, maybe, I don't know, Lysandre up before it evolves or something. That's actually okay. Everything else, I mean, this deck is not perfect. Like, it's not like a deck I'd bring into a tournament. It's definitely like a league kind of fun deck. But it does probably win games if you're playing against a field with a bunch of Shaymins. So like Night March, you could probably win it unless they give like Hex Maniac you, like I said, which is pretty bad. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I did have fun playing this deck for sure. And we did get 2 interesting matches with this deck. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and let's see the deck in action right now. Alright, playing against Tat Hands, playing a Grass, Psychic, Dark, and a Colorless deck. A lot of different colors. It probably should just smack me in the face what kind of deck they're playing. Maybe a Vileplume Darkrai deck? I don't know. But my opponent will go first, and they do have the advantage. Alright, so we get a Mew, Drowzee, Snorlax in. We actually have a pretty good turn 1. We'll start with the Mew. It does have free retreat. We'll put down the Drowzee, put down the Snorlax, and probably put a Fighting Fury Belt on one of the guys. Probably on the Mew, most likely. And let's see what happens. There is a Zora and a Yveltal. Alright, so I still don't know the grass Pokemon could still be. Like I said, I think it's Vileplume. Besides that, I'm not really sure. We've seen the Zora come down to pass on to our turn. Alright, so I'm going to Fighting Free Belt the Snorlax. Or not Snorlax, the Mew. I'm just going to free retreat into Snorlax. And I'm going to use an N. I know my opponent didn't play any supporter cards, but that doesn't really mean anything. They could be holding onto a really good hand. There's another Snorlax, a Mew. Okay, so put down the other Snorlax. Put down the Mew. And we'll hold the DC in our hand for sure. So we'll end our turn on to my opponent's turn. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so let's see. With Snorlax, we can 9, 10, 11, 12. We can knock out this Yveltal since we have the Fighting Fury Belt. Unless they put a Fighting Fury Belt on their own Yveltal. There's a Forest of Giant Plants coming down. Now I'm scared that it is a Vileplume deck. Oh, buddy. Alright, so maybe I should have VS Seeker for the end. Oh, man. Let's see. Do they play Vileplume or not? That would be pretty crazy. There's an Ultra Ball. Go to discard a Vespiquen and an Yveltal. What kind of... Okay, there's a Shaymin, which is good for us. That's what we kind of want to knock out. There's Dark Energy. Shaymin going to set up for 4 whole new cards. And let's see what they decide to get, or what do they get off of this. No energies to Dark Patch to Oblivion onto. There's a Battle Compressor. And let's see what they decide to discard. Now, our next turn, we got to find a Float Stone. To retreat the Snorlax, we see Battle Compressor probably discarding some Darks and some other stuff. There's an Yveltal, Combi, and an Ultra Ball. No, they didn't discard an Ultra Ball. Ultra Ball discards 2 Shaymins. Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright, I'll take that. But we see an Ultra Ball getting an unknown with the Farewell Letter. I'm still not sure what we're playing, but there's an unknown coming down. We'll see a Pharaoh letter discard the unknown to draw a new card. Or there's a VS Seeker for an in, which I'm actually okay with. There's an in. Both players shuffle their hand into the deck and draw as many cards. They have prize cards left, so we'll get 6, and my opponent gets 6 as well. And, oh, we're so close to the knockout. If we top deck a Float Stone, we can Float Stone Ultra Ball for the Hypno, bring out that Mew, and take it a knockout. That'd be pretty great. We see double Pharaoh letter, okay, and they receive Oblivion for 30 damage. Alright, so, on to, wait, he's going to attach a Dark Energy somewhere, most likely. Oh, he doesn't have any Dark in his discard pile, and there's another Snorlax, okay. We're going to Ultra Ball, discard a Lysandre, and a Dimension Valley. And with this, we will grab a Hypno. Let's see, how many Float Stones are in the deck? There's both Float Stones and Escape Rope are in the deck, which is great. So we'll grab the Hypno, put down the Hypno, put down the DCE, and I'm gonna put down the Snorlax as well. And we will via Seeker. Oh, we gotta put down the Mitch Valley, and we'll via Seeker forward in. Can we find an Escape Rope or a Float Stone? Either one would be okay. So let's see what happens. And we whiffed it. Perfect. Alright, so let's see. We could just use Hypno. Yeah, we'll use Goodnight Babies, put both active Pokemon to sleep. Maybe my opponent can't attack us. They do have these Zora, so they can stand in any turn. So let's just end my turn. Okay, my opponent wakes up, and heads, we wake up as well. Okay, so onto my opponent's turn. Let's see what's going to happen. They're going to draw a card. Here comes a Zora coming out to play. Mind Jack would knock us out. There's a DCE, but do they have a Lysandre? There's a Battle Press. They're going to discard 3 cards out of their deck. And let's see. Do they discard a Lysandre or have a VS Seeker in their hand? They've already played one VS Seeker, okay. And there's a Teammates, Dark, and a Battle Compressor, okay. There's an N. Woo! Alright, so no Lysandre this turn. We're going to get 6 new cards, and let's see, what do we get? Do we find a Float Stone and a VS Seeker? That'd be great. There's a DCE. Okay, Trainers Mail. There's another Zora coming out, okay. There is a Zora coming down. There's an Unknown coming down. Alright. Stand in. So my opponent is going to go for the knockout this turn. Going to send that Zora and going to take a knockout with the Mind Jack. The question is, do we knock out the Zora or do we go after Shaymin? I think going after Zora is going to be an okay play. So let's see a Mind Jack for 160. Okay. We will send in the Mew. And let's see what happens. On to our turn. We still have Dimension Valley out. There's another DC in our hand. I think I'm like content with holding it. Let's play Battle Compressor, and let's see what can we discard with the Compressor. We don't have any Sycamores. We'll put the AZ and probably just that. Yeah, those seems fine. We got 2 Mews, Super Rods in the deck, Drowzee is as well. It looks like we did prize the Hypno, but we'll just discard those 2. We will use Goodnight Babies, put both of us to sleep, but we will activate Mew and use Snorlax's attack, which would be A-okay. So we'll use Toss and Turn for 130 because we have the Fighting Fear Belt. So, 110 because Resistance. But hey, we're still taking a knockout. Going down to 5 prize cards, and we get a Sycamore. Alright, so to my opponent's turn, they're probably going to send in this Evital, most likely. Zorak's not a bad play either, but it's looking good for us right now. We stay asleep, it doesn't really matter. We can still use Toss and Turn while we're asleep. My opponent draws a card, but we have another Level Ball. We can get another Mew out. We do have 2 left in the deck. There's an Ultra Ball. Going to discard a Vessel Queen and a Combi. Okay. Now the good thing about us is at any moment we can license up these Shaymin to take a knockout for the extra 2 prize cards. There's a Zora coming down. Now the only thing that's bad about the Zora is it has 140 HP. There's a Battle Compressor. Going to discard 3 cards out of their deck. So we might have to 2-shot the Zora, which is not the best of things to do, but hey, we'll see if it works or not. We see Battle Compressor, going to discard 3 cards out of their deck, and there's just a Combi being discarded, okay? There's another Evital coming down, and there's a Sycamore. Going to discard the hand, draws 7 new cards. I imagine they are looking for a DCE for sure, and do they find it or not? How many DCs are in the discard pile? There's a Float Stone, just 1 DCE. So Float Stone going down to the Zora, DC as well. So we'll see a Mind Jack for the knockouts. Okay, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to Xerosic off that DCE. There's a Combi coming down, and yeah, there's a Mind Jack for 130. Going to take a knockout on us for sure. But we got a Xerosic, so we can pop that DCE. Let's go Mew, okay. On to our turn. Now we can't take a knockout this turn, but we will Level Ball, get out a Mew. Okay. We'll use Xerosic, of course. That's the main thing we want to use right now, is Xerosic to get rid of that DCE. We will use Goodnight Babies, putting that Zora to sleep. And I guess we'll Love Ball for the other Mew, just in case our opponent does enter for some reason. So yeah, let's grab the other Mew out and play. We can't use Shaymin, but that's going to be okay. We'll grab Mew, put down the Mew, put a DC on the active, and we will toss in turn. It'll only do 100 damage, so we'll have to two-shot the Zoroark, but hopefully the Zoroark does stay asleep, and tails, it does stay asleep, and heads, we wake up. Now the question is, does my opponent find a switch, another Zoroark and a Float Stone? Another Zoroark and Float Stone would be probably the worst thing to happen. They do have one Zoroark in the discard pile, one in the active. The question is, how many do they play? It's the big question. So let's see what my opponent decides to do. There's a Hex Maniac gonna shut down our Mew, making it where we can't use its ability now. And my opponent does wake up. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Alright, so on to our turn. I think what I'm going to do is just retreat into a Mew and just pass. Because I really don't want to like use another DCE. We are Hex, so we can't use our Memories of Dawn. We could use a counter, but that's pretty useless. So yeah, let's just free retreat into a Mew. And we will just end our turn. We can't use Goodnight Babies because we're Hex. Okay. How many VS Seekers has my opponent played? Just one. Okay, my opponent draws a card. There's a DC to the active. Now that is their third DCE. How many VS Seekers have they played? They have played one VS Seeker, no Lysandre. There's a VS Seeker for another Hex Maniac. Oh my goodness. Okay, so another Hex Maniac is going to come down, going to shut down our abilities. Another Mind Jack is going to knock us out. My opponent will go down to 3 prize cards. But like I said, that is their third DCE. If we can find this other VS Seeker. Oh, we have VS Seeker in our hand already. So we can automatically get rid of this DCE. Onto our turn. We get it in. We're going to VS Seeker for a Xerosic, get rid of that DCE while we can. Make our opponent have one DCE left. Let's discard that DCE. And I am just going to pass with the Mew in the active spot, so we'll just end my turn. No need to put the Mew up with the DCE. Almost my opponent's turn. Let's see what's going to happen. Do they find their fourth and final DCE? And do they have another Hex Maniac? There's a Zora coming down into play. Okay, and there we see a stand-in. Alright. There's another DCE coming down, but we can knock out the Zoroark, and this will be my opponent's last. Oh my goodness, another VS Seeker for another Hex. Are you kidding me? Another Hex Maniac comes down onto the field. Oh my goodness. 3 Hexes in a row. Oh my goodness. So my opponent takes a knockout. We'll sit up Mew, and let's see what's going to happen. Oh man, that's very unfortunate. On to our turn, we get a Fighting Fury Belt, which is pretty much useless. We're going to Trainers Mail looking for a VS Seeker, and there is not a VS Seeker, but we got a Super Rod, which would be kind of useful. We get Super Rod, put back in 3 Mews, 1, 2, and 3, okay? And I think what we're going to do is just play an end, put both of us at, we'll get 5, and they'll get 2. He said, is this a Rogue Thursday? No, it's a Fan Friday. Even better. Alright, so we're going to end, put my opponent at 2 cards. We'll put down a Snorlax. We will free retreat into the Snorlax. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. They will knock us out, going down to 1 prize card. But can we win the game or not? That is the big question. So in the turn, almost my opponent's turn, do they find a VS Seeker or not to knock out this only Mew, which is the only thing I'm kind of scared of. But let's see what happens. There's a Combi coming down. And there's a Dark Energy going to the Combi, which is kind of scary because now my opponent can knock us out. There's a stand-in. And are they going to blitz? Okay, they're going to go for an Intelligence Gathering, which I'm actually okay with. If my opponent were to knock us out this turn, we would be in kind of a weird situation. Because then they only have to take 1 prize card. There's a Float Stone top deck. Perfect. Alright, Float Stone. Fighting Fury Belt onto the Mew. And we are going to Sycamore, discard our hand, draw 70 cards. We're looking for another Mew. Okay, so there's another Mew, Fighting Fury Belt. So we'll put down the Mew. We will free retreat into the Mew, use Goodnight Babies, put that Vessel Queen to sleep. And we will take a knockout with Toss and Turn. But my opponent can retaliate a knockout, that's for sure. So 130 damage, going to go down to 4 prize cards. The question is, can we win the game or not? There's another Hypno coming to our hand. Zoroark coming to the active. We stay asleep, but that does not matter. Almost to my opponent's turn. Let's see what happens. They can take a knockout with this guy. Ooh, they get another breakout. I don't know how we can win. We do have a VS Seeker for another for another Xerosic. So we see a Zora coming down. How many Darks have they played? Dark Energy going down to Zora. 2 Darks have been played. Retreat to the Zoroark, and they will take a knockout this turn with a Mind Jack. Good 160 damage. Okay. Alright. So taking a knockout, we'll send out the other Snorlax. Alright, so on our turn, let's see what happens. Okay, that's not what I wanted to see. How many DCs have we played? Have we played all of our DCs? We've played 2. I'll put down a Mew. Put down a Fighting Fear Bell on a Mew. And I think the best play right now is the VS Seeker Fort in and just hope. Yeah, we just gotta hope that we hit everything we need. We just need a DCE, and we gotta hope my opponent does not hit a Zoroark and an Energy. So let's in. Yes, that's fine. Can we find a DCE or not? Alright, so there's a DCE puzzle. Lysandre in. Those are some good cards to draw into. Alright, so we're going to... we gotta put the DC on this guy. We will free retreat into the Mew, use Goodnight Babies, and we will take the knockout with the toss and turn. It will do 110 damage, okay? We'll go down to 3 prize cards. Okay, so there we go. There's 3. There's a puzzle time, so double puzzle is great. Here comes the Zoroark. We stay asleep, doesn't really matter. Oh, we wake up, actually. Alright, so onto our opponent's turn. They have 2 cards in their hand. Is one a Zoroark? Is one a Energy or not? So many questions to ask. But next turn we can Lysandre up this guy, take a knockout no matter what it is, as long as he doesn't hex us. We just gotta hope he doesn't have a Dark and a Zoroark in his hand. Let's see what he decides to do. There's retreat into the Yveltal, and when he Oblivion Winks, who does he attach his energy to is the big question. He could attach to this guy to set up both Pokemon. There's a Dark Energy on this guy. We will probably see Oblivion Wing put a Dark Energy maybe on this guy, threatening both, like, hey, I could tackle both these guys. And Dark Energy is going to go on this guy. Alright, so on to our turn. Got a Hypno. Alright, so we're going to Lysandre, bring up the Zoroark. We will use Goodnight Babies to put them asleep, or put both of us asleep, and we'll take a knockout. Alright, so toss and turn for the knockout. Next turn we can bring up the Shaymin for the game. 110 damage coming down. We go down to 2 prize cards. Does my opponent find a Dark and a Zoroark is the question. There's a Trainers Mail coming to our hand. Here comes Yveltal. We stay asleep. Doesn't matter. Does my opponent find a Xerosic? That could pop up Fighting Fear Bell. There's a Sycamore. Go to discard that hand. Draw 7 new cards. Do they find a Zoroark and an Energy? That is the question. And there's a Dark Energy coming down. And we see a Zoroark coming down. And oh no! If they didn't have that Zoroark, we could have won the game. We could have double puzzle time for the Lysandre, bring up the Shaymin, and taken the game. So there's a Mind Jack taking the knockout on our Mew. We were so close. Oh my goodness. That top deck. I guess we should have maybe ended my opponents, but who would have known what they would have had? But still, that was a really, really close game. If they didn't have that Sycamore, we would have obviously won. We would have brought up that Shaymin, taken the prize, and taken the game. Alright, but we'll see one more game with the deck here in a second, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we can get a win with the deck. As you see, it is very powerful. We can do it, but let's see what happens in the next game. Alright, putting us to a bias 0, playing all Psychic deck, and let's see what's going to happen. If it is a Trevenant deck, not sure how this is going to work because item lock's probably really bad for us. They're going to choose who they go first. My opponent will decide to go first. Alright, so there's double Mew, puzzle time. My opponent has no basic Pokemon. We get a Mew, we get another Mew, and we'll press done. And let's see what is my opponent playing, and it is a Trevenant deck. Alright, so I'm not sure how we're going to win this matchup, but my opponent's going to draw a new hand, F7. They get another mulligan. Alright, that's going to be helpful for us. Not going to lie. We just got to set up faster than my opponent does, and that's the main thing. So my opponent's going to get a new hand. Alright. So the big thing is, do they get a turn 1 Trevenant or not? We'll get double mulligan. There's a Dimension Valley. We'll press done. At least Dimension Valley always be out in the active spot. There's a Wobbuffet, which doesn't really matter. Hypno is Psychic. Mew is Psychic. They receive a Battle Compressor. Going to discard 3 cards out of their deck. Maybe a Wally. Maybe a Lysandre. That seems really good. Lysandre in and Sycamore. So, like, their 3 main supporter cards are being discarded turn 1. A Trainers Mail coming down. Going to grab a VS Seeker. And they're probably going to go for an in if they use this VS Seeker. Another Trainers Mail, and they're going to fail it. Bursting Balloon going down to Wobbuffet, which doesn't really matter. We can't attack it. There's a Psychic Energy, VS Seeker for an in. And I'm actually okay with the Psychic Energy attached turn 1 because My opponent can attack us with the Trevenant turn too, or at least a Trevenant or a Trevenant break. But they receive a N, Xerosic, DCE, and only to our turn, so my opponent doesn't really get anything. So we'll put down a Snorlax. We will DCE the bench Mew. We will, I guess, just play it in. We need to find a Drowzee is what we need to find. Okay, so there we go. There's an Ultra Ball. We can discard an Ultra Ball and a Sycamore. And I'm going to Float Stone this Snorlax. Like, usually I would not say to Float Stone a Pokemon early because you need to hold on to it. But there's a Drowzee. We got both the Hypno in here. So grab that guy. We'll put down the Drowzee. Put down a Float Stone on that guy. We're going to Via Seeker for a Sycamore. And we are going to pass. We could. Oh, no, we can't. We don't have it. Okay, if we had a Stadium card to play, we could use Encounter to search for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it to our hand, which could get us Hypno, which could be really useful. But on to my opponent's turn, let's see what's going to happen. We just gotta hope we draw into Hypno. There's a Muscle Man going down into a Wobbuffet, a Phantom coming down. Okay. There's a Dimension Valley coming down, a Psychic Energy on that guy, and a Psychic Assault for the knockout. Alright, so they're going to do 60 damage because we are weak to Psychic. Now, this is great because it does give us an opportunity to use our Super Rod. So let's go Mew. On to our turn, we get a Level Ball. So we get a Super Rod. We will shuffle in the Mew. We are going to Level Ball to get out the Drowzee, which is like, we're having, not a Drowzee, sorry, Hypno. So grab the Hypno. We'll play a Sycamore, and we're looking for another Mew. That's our main thing we need to get, is another Mew for the next turn. So let's Sycamore. We're going to discard our hand, draw 7 new cards. We get another Mew and a DC, which is great. Alright, so let's Ultra Ball, discard a Shaymin, and the Dimension Valley. The Dimension Valley is pretty much useless. And with this, we'll grab another Mew for the following turn. Okay, we'll put down the Mew. Use Goodnight Babies, put both of us to sleep, but then we can knock it out with the toss and turn. There we go. Gonna do 120 damage to that Wobbuffet. Oh, 240 because it's weak. Oh, take that Wobbuffet. So we'll go down to 5 prize cards, and there is a Fighting Fury Bell. Now the only thing that's kind of scary is if an opponent does get a Bursting Balloon, they can't put down on the Phantom. A Tree Slam is going to be devastating as well this turn if they do get a Psychic Energy, and there is a Psychic Energy, so we'll most likely see a Tree Slam. Going to take a knockout, but we have a DC already in our hand, so things are looking kind of good for us. Now, the 20 onto the Mew is kind of scary because, I mean, Psychic Assault regardless just knocks us out almost. But let's hit at the Mew. We got a DCE. On to our turn, we get a Escape Rope. We're just going to put a DC on the active, use Goodnight Babies, put both Pokemon to sleep, and we will use Snorlax attack one more time, using Toss and Turn to knock out this Trevenant. I think it knocks out the Trevenant, hopefully it does. Yeah, 120 damage, it has a 110 HP. Woo, we're getting kind of lucky. We're getting kind of lucky here. We're going out of 4 prize cards, there's an AZ. Here comes a Wobbuffet, we stay asleep, doesn't matter. All to our opponent's turn. Okay, there's an Enhanced Hammer discarding that DCE, which I really don't care about. There's a Bursting Balloon. Battle Compressor, gun discard 3 cards out of the deck. The question is, though, do they find another Pokemon? And if they don't, we can take a knockout this turn, and my opponent just passes. A pass on to our turn. Alright, so there's a Trainers Mail. Let's see. We'll fight if you're with the active. We will play Trainers Mail. We will grab an Ultra Ball, and with the Ultra Ball, we can get out another Mew. So yeah, let's do that. Let's Ultra Ball, discard AZ and Lysandre. We could say grab a Shaymin, but Shaymin would just not be worth it because my opponent has a Wobbuffet in the active spot. So let's grab a Mew, put down the Mew, use Sycamore to discard our hand, draw 70 cards. We could play Target Whistle to keep my opponent in the game, but there is a DCE. So what we're going to do now is use the Goodnight Babies, put both players to sleep. We are going to take the game. We got the DC off the Sycamore, and we will use Toss and Turn for the knockout on the Trevenant attack. Oh my goodness, my opponent will take a prize card though. Bursting Balloon will. Wait, no, we actually survive. Oh, Mew survives because of Fighting for Bell. And there you go. There is the Mew Snorlax Drowzee deck. That is pretty crazy. But there we go. My opponent got kind of unlucky there. Started in Wobbuffet, not getting down any more Pokemon, but we'll take those games. I mean, game 1 was really, really close. Those Hex Maniacs
Shaymin-EX, if my opponent did not play those hexes, I am pretty sure we would have won that game for sure. But there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know game 1 was a loss, but hey, that game was still great. Game 2 was great as well. You saw the full power of this Mew Drowzee Snorlax decks. Maybe we'll see more games with this. It was kind of fun to play in it. It does lose to a lot of stuff. As you saw in the last game, we get shut down by Hex Maniac, which means we also get shut down by a Greninja deck, because Greninja does have the Shadow Stitching, making it where we can't use any of our abilities, which is really bad as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching this episode of Fan Fridays. Excuse me there, I kind of had a hiccup burp kind of thing. That was really weird. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Alrighty, bye. Alright guys, just want to give a quick shout out to our 2 sponsors, 60 Cards and Yeti Gaming. The links are down below to their websites. Make sure you go check them out. Alrighty.